Senate will come to order. Those not having privileges of the floor will please vacate the chamber. Those in the gallery and those on the floor will please rise. We're led in prayer by the senator from Morgan. Please remain standing after the prayer as the senator from Summers leads us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let us bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the blessings of this day. We thank you for the many gifts that you bestowed upon us. We ask for you to give us wisdom. Fill our hearts with compassion that we may work in the interests of the citizens who sent us here. We ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Senator from Summers.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join with me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Reading of the Journal.
West Virginia Legislature, Senate Journal, February 16th, 2023. The Senate met at 11:17 a.m.
Senator from Mercer requests unanimous consent to further reading the journals dispensed with and journal be approved. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Further reading the journals dispensed with and the journals approved. Introduction to guest. On behalf of the Senate, it is my pleasure to welcome the honorary pages for the day. Please stand and be recognized as your name is called. As guests is the Senator from Mason, Amber Lynn Roten, and Kendra Lee. Will the Senate please make them feel welcome? Further introduction, Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Senate, I have some other fellows I'd like to introduce in the North Gallery, visiting us from the Aracoma Lodge of DeMolay. There's if you guys wouldn't mind standing, Bobby Stottridge, who's one of the advisors, LaRue Barfield, Paul Smith, Brett Browning, David Miller, Donald Pritchard, Jacob Smith, Braden Browning, and Gabriel Goldie. These gentlemen is a fine young men's organization. It's under the Masonic Lodge. If the Senate wouldn't mind giving them a warm welcome.
Further introduction, Senator from Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the senior senator from the 4th, I would like to welcome Amber Lynn's mom, Hope Facemeyer. She's in the President's Gallery. We actually went to elementary school together, so if the Senate would please make her feel welcome.
Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you haven't noticed, today is Adventure Travel Day in the Capitol, and there's many vendors out in the rotunda. If you get a chance, stop and see them. In the President's Gallery, we have people from the Country Roads Coalition. And as I call your name, please stand. We have Jerry Bain, who is the Executive Director, and we have Brian Holmes. He's the GIS expert, and he's also with Infamous Adventures. We have Eric Larch from Mountain Maid. Nico Bowden, he is the president of the West Virginia Jeep Club. Thomas Burton with West Virginia Overland. Chris Shannon and Marcus Yonker. They made today possible out in the hallway. Senate, if you will, join me and make them welcome.
Further introductions. Communications from the House.
The Clerk of the House announced the House amended and passed Senate Bill 275, adding state fire marshals to statute included with law enforcement and first responders that receive information on school safety requirements.
Message be received. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate concur in the House amendments to Senate Bill 275.
Senior Senator from the 17th moves the Senate concur with the House amendments to Senate Bill 275. Is there discussion? Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. The purpose of the bill was to add state fire marshals to be included with law enforcement and first responders to receive information related to school safety requirements. The House made technical corrections only to the title. I urge adoption.
Is there further discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is the Senate concur with the House amendments to Senate Bill 275. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the motion adopted. Now, the question is on the passage of the bill as amended. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present and voting have... More than those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
The House passed committee substitute for House Bill 2062, establish rules and regulations for e-bikes in West Virginia that more closely comport to federal law.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Outdoor Recreation.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2515, require agencies to develop and maintain an inventory of available services for single parents wanting to obtain degrees, secure training, or re-enter the workforce.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Workforce and then the Committee on Government and Organization.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2587 to reflect the county sheriffs will be required to include a breakdown of the distribution of where a citizen's taxes will be paid.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Government and Organization.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2638 authorizing certain agencies of the Department of Administration to promulgate legislative rules.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2640 authorizing certain agencies of the Department of Environmental Protection to promulgate legislative rules.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2820 to provide Hope Scholarship recipients with the ability to play sports.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on School Choice.
Committee substitute for House Bill 3012 to encourage economic development regarding rare earth elements and critical minerals as defined by providing temporary severance tax relief.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Economic Development and then the Committee on Finance.
Committee substitute for House Bill 3130 creating the Coalfields Energy Research and Economic Development Authority.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Government and Organization.
Committee substitute for House Bill 3190 amending the definition of minor.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
House Bill 3192 abolishing the Center for Nursing and transferring its duties and authorities to the Higher Education Policy Commission.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Education, then the Committee on Finance.
House Bill 3218 relating to requiring suicide prevention resources be printed on student identification cards.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Education.
House Bill 3286 relating to additional modification decreasing federal taxable income.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Committee substitute for House Bill 3293 relating generally to identifying and educating exceptional children exhibiting indicators or diagnosed with dyslexia or dyscalculia.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Education.
Committee substitute for House Bill 3318 relating to location of services provided by the Workforce Development Board as related to one-stop delivery system.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Workforce.
House Bill 3328 authorizing the Hatfield-McCoy Regional Recreation Authority to contract to build and maintain trails on privately owned property.
Message will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Outdoor Recreation. Communications from the Executive.
There are none.
Reports from standing committees.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 39 relating to assessment of real property and reports back to committee substitute for same with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Finance. Respectfully submitted, Jack David Woodrum, Chair.
Report will be received and under the original double committee reference, the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 195, ready-to-use glucogen rescue therapies for Schools Act, and reports back a committee substitute for same with the recommendation that the committee substitute for committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Amy N. Grady, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 273 relating to allocation of child protective workers in counties based upon population of county, and reports back a committee substitute for same with the recommendation that the committee substitute for committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Eric J. Tarr, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 297, Mountain Homes Act, and reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Eric J. Tarr, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 429, establishing statewide health and safety fee for tourism and recreational activities by county commissions, and reports back a committee substitute for same, and Senate Bill 539, authorizing state and subdivisions to negotiate price for construction when all bids received exceed maximum budget, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the two committee substitutes do pass. Respectfully submitted, Jack David Woodrum, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 436, Prompt Payment Act of 2023, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute for committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Eric J. Tarr, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration Senate Bill 523, clarifying purpose and use of Economic Development Project Fund, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Eric J. Tarr, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration Senate Bill 553, allowing for evaluation of pre-qualified bidders to be based on best value, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Jack David Woodrum, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration Senate Bill 577, reducing copay cap on insulin and devices and permitting purchase of testing equipment without prescription, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Michael J. Maroney, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 608, correcting list of items which are considered deadly weapons, and reports the same back with a recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Ron W. Weld, Vice Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 621, requiring sheriff to serve child abuse and neglect petitions without additional compensation, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Ron W. Weld, Vice Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 630, creating offense of knowingly and willfully obstructing social service worker, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Ron W. Weld, Vice Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 635, updating language and increasing penalties for indecent exposure, and reports back a committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Ron W. Weld, Vice Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Health and Human Resources has had under consideration engrossed House Bill 3141 relating to the practice of dentistry, and has amended same, and reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass as amended, but under the original double committee reference, first be referred to the Committee on Government Organization. Respectfully submitted, Michael J. Maroney, Chair.
Report will be received. Senator from Summers.
Mr. President, I request unanimous consent that the second committee reference to government organization be dispensed with.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Reports from select committees.
There are none.
Introduction of bills. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that Senate Bill 666 through Senate Bill 678, with the exception of Senate Bill 674, be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system.
Senior Senator from the 17th requests unanimous consent that Senate Bill 666 through Senate Bill 678 be, with the exception of Senate Bill 674, be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered.
Senate Bill 674 by Senators Trump and Tarr, providing statutory recognition and appointment of board members for West Virginia First Foundation.
Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our question unanimous consent that the committee reference be dispensed with.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Resolutions.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 16 by Senators Phillips, Rucker, Stewart, and Taylor, naming the U.S. Army First Sergeant James Arnold Browning Memorial Bridge.
Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over one day.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 17 by Senator Phillips, naming the U.S. Navy HT-2 Philip Joseph P.J. Hayner Memorial Bridge.
Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over one day.
Senate Resolution 35 by Senator Weld, recognizing the Society of the Honor Guard Tomb of Unknown Soldier.
Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over one day.
Senate Resolution 36 by Senator Hamilton, designating February 20th, 2023 as Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Day at the Legislature.
Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over one day. Motions, petitions,
There are none.
unfinished business.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 12, naming the Okie-Tolliver Memorial Bridge.
Resolution will be referred to the Committee on Transportation Infrastructure.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 13, naming the Wyant Brothers Memorial Road.
Resolution will be referred to the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 14, supporting Medal of Valor nominees recommended by First Responders Honor Board.
Senator from Greenbrier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the committee reference be dispensed with and the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration and put upon its adoption.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. The clerk will read the resolution.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 14, supporting Medal of Valor nominees recommended by First Responders Honor Board.
Question is on adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? Senator from Greenbrier.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Medal of Valor is awarded to firefighters, law enforcement officers, and emergency medical services personnel who distinguish themselves by going above and beyond the call of duty at the risk of their own lives. The First Responders Honor Board has submitted the following names for the Senate's consideration. Patrol Officer Cassie Johnson of the Charleston Police Department, who was fatally wounded in the line of duty. Trooper Eric Workman of the West Virginia State Police, who was also fatally wounded in the line of duty. Corporal Marshall Bailey of the West Virginia State Police, also fatally wounded in the line of duty. Deputy John Westfall of the Roane County Sheriff's Department, who was severely wounded in the line of duty. Firefighter James Spencer of the Charleston Fire Department for extraordinary effort and exemplary service. Firefighter John Forbush of the Gasaway Volunteer Fire Department, who was fatally injured in the line of duty. Deputy Thomas Baker of the Nicholas County Sheriff's Department, who was fatally wounded in the line of duty. Mr. President, members of this esteemed Senate, each first responder named in this resolution gave a full measure of valor to the citizens of West Virginia. Let us remember the true measure of a person is not found in the might of their arm, or in their wealth, or in their power. It is found in the eternal spiritual strength of their character. There's no greater testimony to one's character or to one's Heavenly Father than one's willingness to sacrifice all in the noble quest of providing protection to all whom they serve. The West Virginia Senate is honored to support the Medal of Valor nominees and is eternally grateful for their service and sacrifice. Mr. President, I urge adoption of the resolution.
Is there further discussion? If not, the question is on adoption of the resolution. Roll call's demand sustained. Demand is sustained. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine. Ascertain the results on this question. 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present, I declare the resolution adopted. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 15, permitting Department of Tourism to procure bids for lodge on Beach Fork Lake.
Resolution will be referred to the Committee on Government and Organization.
Senate Resolution 34, recognizing February 17th, 2023 as Adventure Travel Day at the Legislature.
Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the committee reference be dispensed with and the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration and put upon its adoption.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. The clerk will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 34, recognizing February 17th, 2023 as Adventure Travel Day at the Legislature.
Question is on adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? Senior Senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Adventure Travel Day at the Capitol is to bring awareness to the state, agencies, the legislature. It's a somewhat untapped market in outdoor recreation, and I appreciate all the individuals that have taken their Friday off to come here and speak with legislators about this that are out in the rotunda. And please, if you get a chance, I'm sure there's many constituents of yours here. It's a passion of mine, and I see other states that are embracing adventure travel, overlanding, and it's just my desire to let this get on the map of West Virginia and let individuals know across the country that West Virginia is open for business. I appreciate support of this resolution.
Is there further discussion? If not, question is on adoption of the resolution. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the resolution adopted.
House Concurrent Resolution 13, making second week of February every year a week of recognition of the Boy Scouts of America.
Question is on adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is adoption of the resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the resolution adopted. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House. Bills on third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 151, levying tax on pass-through entities' income. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Monongalia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 151 will amend and reenact Chapter 11, Article 21, Sections 3 and 20. In addition, it will create a new section, Chapter 11, Article 21, Section 3A. This bill allows pass-through entities to make an irrevocable election in the taxable year to pay personal income tax otherwise attributable to the entity's owner or owners at the entity level. To avoid double taxation, the owners of the electing pass-through entities would receive a non-refundable credit on their personal income tax in proportion to the ownership of the electing entity. The bill also provides a credit to resident owners based upon tax paid to another state at the entity level to fully realize credits otherwise allowable on state personal income taxes. A majority of the states in the country have now done this, and it's done in order to avoid the current $10,000 cap on deductions of state and local taxes from federal adjusted gross income, which became effective in 2018. The IRS does not cap state and local taxes paid at the entity level. More simply, this will allow pass-through entities to pay a tax at the entity level and allow the owner to achieve that refundable credit. The impact to the state is only about $15,000 in administrative costs. This will allow our West Virginia pass-through entities to simply pay less federal taxes. We hope that they'll spend those dollars that don't go to the federal government in ways that will help the state. Mr. President, I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor vote yea. Those opposed vote nay. The clerk should prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine. Ascertain the results on this question. 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative. I declare the bill passed. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be made effective July 1, 2023, and request unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
Senior Senator from the 17th moves the bill be made effective July the 1st, 2023, and request unanimous consent that the roll call used on the passage of the bill be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than 2/3 of those elected to the Senate having voted in the affirmative. I declare the bill effective July the 1st, 2023. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed Senate Bill 452 relating to Emergency Medical Services Retirement System. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Junior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this comes to us from the Consolidated Public Retirement Board, as are the two of the next bills. But Senate Bill 452 looks back to cleaning up some legislation that we passed last year to allow 911 personnel and county firefighters to join the EMS plan. This bill updates the definition for county firefighters, Friday morning's a tough one, I'm sorry, and 911 personnel. It amends existing definitions of what a covered employment, a member, and participating employer, as well as totally disabled, to reflect the same for these two groups throughout the code. Lastly, the bill includes a severability section to make the plan article consistent with the code describing other plans overseen by the CPRB. There is no fiscal impact. Happy to answer questions, and I urge passage.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk should prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine. Ascertain the results on this question. 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for Senate Bill 453, ensuring retirement contributions and delinquency charges of charter school employees be paid upon school closure or by successor. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Junior Senator from the 17th.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Again, this is at the request of the Consolidated Public Retirement Board. Last year, we did allow the input of public charter schools into our retirement system. This amends a section of code dealing with public charter schools to ensure that in the event of a closure, that the retirement board would be able to recover required employer payments to the retirement system. This bill would make the board a primary creditor to recover assets to help pay the employer contributions into the retirement system should a public charter school close. Current law states that neither the county boards nor the state can be held liable for the financial obligations of a public charter school. The bill provides a mechanism for the board to collect any potential delinquent retirement contributions from successors of those closed charter schools. There's no fiscal impact to the state. Happy to answer any questions, and I urge passage.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor vote yea. Those opposed vote nay. The clerk should prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine. Ascertain the results on this question. 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed Senate Bill 458, setting rate of interest on delinquent retirement contribution submissions. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Junior Senator from 17.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is the last of request from the Consolidated Public Retirement Board. And in essence, right now, code states that should there be a delinquent payment, there is an interest rate to be charged. It does not define what that interest rate is. What this bill will do is define that any delinquent payment is subject to the actuarial rate in the plan. Currently, we're at 7.25. That was dropped from 7.5, I believe, last year or the year before. So what this will do is just any future delinquencies shall match the actuarial required return at whatever that may be. There is no fiscal impact. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Mr. President, I urge passage.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results on this question. 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed Senate Bill 474, requiring Municipal Pensions Oversight Board to propose legislative rules. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Junior Senator from the 17th.
You like saying that today, don't you? Yes. Anyway, thank you, Mr. President. Senate Bill 474 comes to us at the request of the Municipal Pensions Oversight Board. And this is providing them the ability to set rules for any future pension revenue bonds that may be issued from some of our municipality pensions. Last year, this body passed a bill that allowed the city of Wheeling to issue a revenue bond to pay some pension obligations going forward. What this bill does is it requires the board to approve or disapprove plans within 60 days of receipt of a request, that there is no objective standard in code or elsewhere to give guidance to the board. There is no current objective standard in the code right now to give guidance to the board or to put counties on notice. This bill is meant to remedy that by requiring the board to propose rules that will be presented to the Legislative Rulemaking and Review Committee for any future pension funding revenue bonds. There is no fiscal impact. Happy to answer any questions, and I urge passage.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor vote yea. Those opposed vote nay. The clerk should prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results on this question. 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present and voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 579, providing payment to vendors who provide services to state. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senior Senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the first of the 2 annual claims bills. This one contains a single claim that has been found to be valid by the Claims Commission. However, the agency against whom the claim was filed did not have sufficient funding to pay the claim. Mr. President, I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor vote yea. Those opposed vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results on this question. 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Mr. President, I move the bill be made effective from passage and request unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
Senior Senator from the 17th moves the bill be made effective from passage and request unanimous consent that the roll call used on the passage of the bill be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than 2/3 of those elected to the Senate having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill effective from passage. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House. Bills on second reading.
Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 191, relating to liability for payment of court costs as condition of pretrial diversion agreements. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 293, increasing fees charged by sheriffs. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 303, relating to Violent Crime Prevention Act. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 430, relating to State Treasurer's authority to contract with financial institutions for banking goods and services. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 455, modifying certain used car restrictions. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Senate Bill 559, relating to spousal privilege. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 568, relating to Dangerousness Assessment Advisory Board. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Senate Bill 580, authorizing election for special levy renewal.
Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the bill over one day while retaining its place on the calendar.
Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered.
Senate Bill 605, requiring state medical examiner to enter into contracts with procurement organizations. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Senate Bill 609, obtaining approval for decommissioning or deconstructing of existing power plants. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on Energy, Industry, and Mining moved to amend the bill on page 1.
Senator from Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to withdraw the committee amendment.
Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Are there further amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. Senator Smith moved to amend the bill on page 1, section 5C, lines 11 and 12.
Senator from Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senator from Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're amending the bill on page 1, section 5C, lines 11 and 12 by striking out all of subsection C and inserting in lieu thereof a new subsection C to read as following. The authority shall propose rules for legislative approval and promulgate emergency rules in accordance with the provision of this code to implement this section, including exempting power plants that have been non-producing for at least 5 years prior to the effective date of this section. It's basically the same amendment or similar amendment that was introduced in the Energy Committee by the gentleman from Marion who had some concerns about power plants that were already decommissioned, had been decommissioned for years, so they didn't have to go through the hoops to get approval to tear them down. So it's an agreed upon amendment, and I urge passage.
Is there discussion? If not, question for the Senate's adoption amendment offered by the Senator from Tucker. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the constitutional rule requiring bills to be read on 3 different days be suspended. The bill be read a second and third time and placed upon its passage.
Senior Senator from the 17th moves that the constitutional rule requiring the bill be read on 3 different days be suspended and the bill be read a third time and placed upon its passage. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than 4/5 of the members present having voted in the affirmative, I declare the constitutional rules suspended. The clerk will read the bill a third time.
Engrossed Senate Bill 609, obtaining approval for decommissioning or deconstructing of existing power plant. Third reading of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Senator from Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you can see on the bill is a very simple one-page bill. What the bill does is create a new law which requires power plants to apply to the Public Energy Authority for approval if they before they can stop operation or demolish the plant. And you heard the amendment it put in there where if this doesn't pertain to any decommissioned plants that have been decommissioned at least 5 years prior. There's talks going on with one of the power plants here in the state, and this will help that out quite a bit. But it's pretty simple with the grid stability. If not only this power plant, but any power plants going forward with the grid stability an issue anymore. This just makes sure that it is aired out and make sure that it's not going to crash our power grid. So I urge passage of the bill.
Question is on passage of the bill. Is there further discussion? If not, the question for the Senate is, shall the bill pass? All those in favor vote yea. Those opposed vote nay. The clerk shall prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine, ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present voting having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. The clerk has the title amendment.
Senator Smith moved to amend the title of the bill.
Question is on adoption of the title amendment. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the title amendment adopted. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be made effective from passage and question unanimous consent that the roll call used on passage of the bill be used to make it so effective.
Senior Senator from the 17th moves that the bill be made effective from passage and request unanimous consent that the roll call used on the passage of the bill be used to make it so effective. Is there objection? Chair hears none. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than 2/3 of those elected to the Senate having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill effective from passage. The clerk will communicate the actions of the Senate to the House.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 2596 to modify when a non-resident student's transfer may be denied. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on Education moved to amend the bill on page 2, section 16.
Senator from Mason.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to explain the amendments in lieu of having them read, and that all amendments be considered as one.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senator from Mason.
Thank you. The amendment removed an unneeded definition and allowed a county school board to deny an application to transfer if the student had committed a level 3 or level 4 violation as defined by State Board Policy 4373. Some level 3 violations include sexual misconduct, threat of injury or assault against an employee or student, harassment, bullying, or intimidation. And level 4 violations include battery against school employees, a felony, illegal substances, or possession or use of a dangerous weapon, including other things. Mr. President, I'm happy to answer any questions. I urge adoption.
So discussion? If not, question for the Senate is adoption amendment offered by the Committee on Education. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 2845 relating to removing expired provisions from the code. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading.
Engrossed committee substitute for House Bill 3164 to extend the termination date of the West Virginia Advisory Council on Rare Diseases due to a delay in beginning its duties. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
The bill will be advanced to third reading.
Engrossed House Bill 3272 relating to the operation of private trust companies in West Virginia. Second reading of the bill.
Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the bill move to third with right to amend.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Bills on first reading. Senior Senator from
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that all bills on first reading be considered read a first time and advanced to second read.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Senator from Cabell, what purpose?
Thank you. I have an inquiry of the chair, Mr. President. Mr. President, and I'm not suggesting there's anything nefarious going on here, but Senate Bill 674 is the West Virginia First Trust, and that involves over $1 billion, $1 billion that's coming in out of the opioid litigation. I don't see it on the system. It's not on the system. I don't know what we did with it earlier. There was some motion to waive committee reference for this $1 billion. So my question is, what's going on? Again, nothing nefarious, but I have some personal involvement with this obtaining some of this money, and I'm very, again, not saying anybody's pulling any shenanigans, but what did we do?
Senator from Cabell, it is on the system. I think the Senator from Morgan would like to respond. Would you either ask him to yield or you yield to?
Because it's not on mine or the senator from my fellow senator from the 5th.
Clerk just informed me it was, or it should be.
Fair enough.
Will you
yeah,
would the Senator from Morgan?
Senator from Morgan yield. Senator, would you?
Senator from Morgan.
I'll be happy to yield. I can certainly I'll tell you what I know about it, and I would probably start my remarks by saying the senator from Cabell knows more about the underlying part of it than I do. But there's a bill that was requested by our Attorney General, a bill that addresses the settlement that has been negotiated between the Attorney General and opioid, I think, distributors, involving multiple counties and municipalities. And the case is pending in the Circuit Court of Kanawha County. And it's my understanding that the parties, the vast majority, there may be a couple of municipalities that haven't signed on yet, but the vast majority of the parties have signed a memorandum of understanding that includes a requirement for the establishment of a 501c3 entity to receive settlement monies that may be being paid, that have been paid or will be paid in connection with the settlement. So the Attorney General came to us and said, I think because the agreement, let me back up, the memorandum of understanding requires that there be appointment of people from different regions around the state to serve on the board of this organization, and appointments by the governor. And the appointments in the memorandum would be subject to approval confirmation by the Senate. And the Attorney General's belief was, and I agree with him, that if such an entity is to be created and it's going to involve gubernatorial appointments that are going to be confirmed by the Senate, there should be some statutory recognition of the creation of this entity, which is in the memorandum and in the statute would be called the West Virginia First Foundation. That's the name of the entity under the MOU. So this bill that has been just received on the floor is a bill that would recognize the creation of the West Virginia First Foundation and authorize the governor to make appointments to that board with the advice and consent of the Senate. And so I asked our Attorney General, I said, are you asking us to create the entity? And he said, no, the entity is being created pursuant to a court order that has approved a memorandum of understanding. We're asking only for legislation that recognizes the entity, and that's what this bill is. And I guess the plan is not to send it to committees, but to advance it on the floor. I hope, does that help?
Well, I helped draft the memorandum of understanding, and so I had input into the drafting of the language there. I just want to, yes, that was very helpful, I'm sure, to the body, because I don't know if anybody else understood what we were doing. Again, nothing nefarious. I'm just saying that on my device, it jumps from 673 to 675. I'm not saying that's any kind of conspiracy to keep me in the dark, because I'm in the dark on my own fairly often, okay? I put myself there. I'm saying this. I'm saying that, yes, this has to do with money that came from pharmacies. It came from the opioid distributors. There's going to be money coming from the Sacklers, the Sackler family individually. There's going to be money from, I'm sorry, it's just a big deal, and it's $1 billion. Did we waive, Mr. President, did we waive the, we waived committee reference, so I guess we'll just be taking it up on the floor. Thank you. I appreciate your indulging me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Introduction to guest. Senior Senator from 17.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Senate, we have some folks in the rear of the chamber that I believe were off doing doctor duties, but with us for the dark of the day, we have several. Dr. Carl Schrader, Dr. Eric Boner, and Dr. Colby Tonkovich. If you wouldn't mind standing, let's give you a warm welcome.
There further introductions? Remarks by members. Senator from Mercer.
Mr. President, I'd like to take this opportunity to share an idea I've been thinking about for some time concerning economic development that I think will strengthen an already very successful economic development program we've been having in recent years. I think everybody's aware that last summer we made an announcement that 2 Warren Buffett companies were coming to West Virginia. And the senior senator from the 8th, a year and a half before that, had written a letter to them and gotten a positive response. And that's going to bring, I think in round numbers, somewhere around $1 billion worth of economic development. What the group here may not be aware of is that senior senator from the 8th has been working tirelessly all summer long, traveling out of state, working with the Economic Development Department, doing similar contacts and activities for economic development. Just this past week, I was invited to a presentation from a company from Israel who was looking at West Virginia for perhaps a $100 million manufacturing investment. And guess who was showing them around and driving them to look property and stuff like that? Senior senator from the 8th. And I've been thinking about this for a while, so as a result, last night I came to the Senate President's office and asked, have you ever thought about naming the senior senator from the 8th chair of economic development? If he had that title, it might strengthen his appearance when he's out in the presence of the Warren Buffetts of the world. And after a little bit of arm twisting, he finally agreed, yeah, senior senator from the 8th would make an awesome chairman of the Economic Development Committee. So as a result, Mr. President, thank you. You called the senior senator from the 8th and allowed me to present my idea to him. And after a little bit more arm twisting, he agreed that if nominated, he would serve. So therefore, it is my pleasure to strongly recommend that you appoint the senior senator from the 8th as chair of the Economic Development Committee. Thank you.
Further remarks by member? Senior senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will say that I was taken back yesterday. I do have a passion for economic development, job creation, whatever it takes to get that to happen. And I want to say that I am deeply and humbled that the Senate President has entrusted me to take this position. I'm very thankful. I have a passion for it, and I'll continue to have a passion for it. But, Mr. President, I'd also like to take this opportunity to say to the senator from Mercer, thank you for your faith in me. You don't know how much I appreciate that. When you brought that to me yesterday, I know I probably had that deer in the headlight looking at you, that how can I replace what you are doing currently with this committee? You've set a legacy. You've got a passion to move this state forward. And that's one thing that I will promise to you that I will continue to do. I won't forget about our challenges that we have in the state. And I know each one of us in our district, we have challenges. And Senator from Mercer, he recognizes those. And it was his passion to look at those challenges and do whatever he could do to make sure that we had legislation in place to help develop your areas. I'll continue to the senator from Mercer that we continue working on our existing businesses here, keeping them here, and we will continue working on bringing new businesses here into this state. That is my pledge to each one of you. I will do everything that I can to help create opportunities in your district. That is my pledge to you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senior Senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's First time down from the podium this year to speak. I didn't have any intention of speaking this time yesterday in any way, but what an honor it is and a privilege to stand up here and make a few comments about this situation. And it's not really a situation. It is something that I have not seen the entire time that I've ever served in the legislature, and I am unaware of this ever happening. Where a member that was doing an exceedingly good job, seen an opportunity for not himself, not someone else, but for the state of West Virginia to do a better job of attracting business and economic opportunity to the state of West Virginia. There is, without question, a selfless act that each and every one of us in this chamber should aspire to being as the senator, the leadership, the senator from Mercer proposed yesterday afternoon to me. There is not a better definition of team player than the senator from Mercer for what he's attempting to do. Each and every one of you have seen the big old thick book that I have of the bill after bill after bill after bill after bill that we've done since we've taken over to be able to attract business to this state. And the senator from Mercer's been there every step of the way and been a key component of that. But he also recognizes that this is another page in that book. Today is monumental. Corporate America should be listening to this on how we behave in West Virginia, how we care about each other, how we treat each other. I went to a meeting last year or the year before over at the West Virginia DEP, and I would have thought the senator from Mercer was actually chairing the meeting. And I have not always had the greatest fondness for the DEP. In fact, I got a phone call yesterday that I need to return on the DEP. I should just go ahead and give it to the senator from Mercer and he'll get it worked out. But he was able to transcend something that I've not been able to see that really get done in my years of service either. And that is a legislator, in this case a senator, being able to get the DEP to work together for the greater good of West Virginia. Senator, I aspire to be like you. You are a true West Virginian and an aspiration should be to all of us. Senior senator from the 8th. Did I get it right, Junior? I forget. You don't speak enough back there for me to be able to remember. You, on the other hand, have been an interesting character. And here's why I say that. And when he was in the minority, he was working on economic development in the state of West Virginia. And we all know the story of him writing a letter to Warren Buffett and what has become of that. But he was in and out of my office all the time asking for permission. And I'm like, You don't ask me for permission to do good things for the state of West Virginia. Am I right? You don't ask. You go out here and do what we do. And you've done just that. Finally, you quit asking for permission, and it allowed you to be expeditious. And the things that we've been voting on in here, his fingerprints are all over these things. This doesn't happen elsewhere in this country or in this world. It's happening right here in the West Virginia Senate, where we have a laser beam single focus of making our state better as a team. I've got to say that I got choked up yesterday when this started going on, the conversations started happening. And I'm borderline choked up right now. This is probably, I've had a lot of amazing things happen in my life, but in this Senate chamber, as this Senate president, I believe that this is the most amazing thing, and we should all remember and learn from it. And remember that our goal is to make the lives of our citizens that we all represent, no matter what the district is, the best it possibly can be. And the leadership of you two far exceeds anything that I can bring to the table. Ladies and gentlemen, take a few minutes, stand up, and give a round of applause to both these gentlemen.
Further remarks by members. Junior Senator from the 7th?
7th. Thank you, Mr. President. I wish my remarks had come before those last remarks. I would have loved for us to finish with those remarks going into the weekend, and a pretty remarkable story and remarkable testament to this body. I do want to point out just 2 remarks today. One is that there's a special birthday for the senator from Logan today. So I want everybody as we leave here to wish him happy birthday. But second, we've had a lot of rain over the past few days. We've always suffered with flooding in West Virginia. Yesterday on the floor of this body, we had pages that were serving from Lincoln County High School, and they had to be called back early because school was going to be dismissed and there was flooding, as there always is too often in southern West Virginia. My counties have been deeply affected by the flooding of the past few days. In fact, there were about 150 students from Lincoln County High School and Duval Pre-K through 8 who spent the night overnight at their schools because of flooding in those communities. So I say on behalf of everyone here, I want those communities to know that all of our prayers are with those communities and with the families affected. But I just want to thank, in particular, the administrators, the teachers, the volunteers, the parents who came to the rally in protection of those kids. And this happens all across this great state. It's not so inconsistent with the discussion you just had a few minutes ago. It's a reflection of the character of West Virginia. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from Logan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, this week, Allegheny Metallurgical had its first train pull out, 130 cars loaded of met coal. In Barber County, not to steal the thunder from the gentleman that represents Barber County, but the 2 guys that's driving the boat up there are from my home county, Logan, Keith Hayner and Ryan Toller. They started the permitting process in 2008, broke ground February of 2019. Ain't that amazing? It took that long to be able to get the permission to break ground. Currently, there are over 200 employees, The lowest person underground is $70,000. When they get fully up and running and within the next 2 years, 450 employees, and it could grow. Over $500 million of investment. They started in 2008. Just now starting to see some of the money coming back. I mean, it blows my mind. But when you drive home today in your car that's made out of steel, you be sure to think of coal miner. And when you get home tonight and you're in your warm house, thank a coal miner again for keeping you warm. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator from Monongalia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Staying on the topic of coal, I had an opportunity this week to visit with some coal miners. A little bit unique. They were from Australia, and they were here cross-training with their counterparts in America. I had a wonderful, wonderful time visiting with them. They loved our state capital. And in the course of our discussions, I asked them if any of them were familiar with the Petito mule. One of the guys immediately responded, "My gosh, that's the best piece of equipment we have in our mine." He said it does amazing things. It makes our job so much easier. It's so well built, so well designed. And I said, "Are you aware that the Petito mule is manufactured in Morgantown, West Virginia?" And they said they had no idea of that. I just wanted to comment on that because I think what we do in West Virginia is important not only in our nation, but around the globe. And I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to represent a company like Petito Mining. When I ran for the state senate in 1994, they allowed me to film my first campaign commercial inside their plant as they were manufacturing a Petito mule. So honored to be here, and I just thought that might be a story you would want to hear. Thank you.
Further remarks. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the comments earlier made by our senators from Mercer, the senior from the 8th, and senior from the 15th be printed in the appendix of the journal.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Further remarks by members. Miscellaneous business. Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Subject to announcements, I move the Senate stand adjourned until Monday at 11 a.m.
Are there announcements? It's an honor for this chair to announce the following changes to standing committees. The resignation of the senator from Mercer as chairman of the Committee on Economic Development, and the appointment as the senior senator from the 8th as chairman of the Committee on Economic Development. Further announcements. Senator from Brooke.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on the Military will be meeting on Monday at 1 p.m. on room 208 West. Thank you.
Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on the Judiciary will meet today at noon or 15 minutes following the adjournment of workforce, whichever is later.
Senator from Raleigh.
Mr. President, it should be 208 West Wing.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on the Workforce will meet at 11 o'clock this morning in 208 West.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question for the Senate stand adjourned until 11 a.m. Monday. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The Senate's adjourned until 11 a.m. Monday.